Get started. All right, friends, welcome, welcome. This is the Positive Growth Lounge. For those of you who've never been here before, you are most welcome. Thanks for popping by. We are actually normally a group of educators from across the nation that just love pouring into each other. We're positive people. So if you find yourself tonight thinking, oh, these are actually really good vibes and I like these people, and you happen to be in the education space in any way, that might be in the world of prevention, in the classroom, at the college level, maybe you're a former educator. If educators are your kind of people, we might be a group for you. So feel free. You can always reach out to me. You got my email. I'd love to have you as a guest again, just to see if this is your crew and family. But that's what this group is, just so you know. You ended up in this Zoom, but maybe you weren't sure what the heck is going on. Now you know. Welcome to the Positive Growth Lounge. But friends, I am honored. I had the pleasure. I walked into a conference one day and I didn't know what was about to happen. All I know is that this woman they were calling Mrs. G, Sophia G, shows up. I'm having breakfast. She comes out. There's music playing. She's speaking truth. Took my breath away on the message, the meaning, the passion. And I said, yo, this is someone I need to know. Then I come to find out she co-taught a few times every once in a while with my college roommate, which she didn't hold against me, which just shows what a good human this is. But 17 years in the classroom, my friends, in Chicago, urban schools, she is a voice for many of the voiceless, and her message is pure, true, and full of passion. And when I reached out to her and I said, could you help me? And remember, I said, Sophia, and this is the truth, I said, I'm just like a total white boy that was in a bland upbringing, that is not well cultured, and often overlooks a lot of the things that need to be done because of the privilege I'm fully aware that I was born with. And I said, we were laughing a little bit. I'm like, but no, I need you to school me. I want to help more in this world. And I know that you're a voice for many of the voiceless. So, friends, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the wonderful Sophia, Mrs. G. Gonzalez. Sophia, how are you tonight?
Wow, what an intro. My goodness. I'm doing great. So thank you so much for inviting me into this space, into this community. I'm excited to share space and to have an incredible conversation.
Thank you. And I know that we want to make sure that this is casual and that if people have questions or want to jump in, friends, you know, not only in the chats, you can throw in questions if that makes you comfortable, but you can also unmute, speak up, and ask questions as well. We want to be open and we want to make sure that we have dialogue that matters to people and that we have questions about. So we just wanted to make sure we set those parameters to everybody to know that this is for all of us. So feel free to dive in and dig in when you feel called to do so. But Sophia, could you tell us a little bit more about? I know I talked about you being in the classroom and that, but tell us, like, you got a lot of stuff going on, and it's all in the name of making the world a better place. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive in to the serious questions.
Yeah, every time I'm asked that question, it's always so sobering because it's like when it becomes your life's work and your North Star, it's kind of an overwhelming question, but one that I'm definitely humbled to tell over and over again. 17th year in the high school classroom. Right now, I'm at Morton East and Cicero, just outside the city of Chicago. But I started um, my whole journey in inner city. And it was there where I really just saw some of the world's most despairing issues in the world of education, just front and center, like super proximate. I started my teaching journey in 2009 in a gang-infested neighborhood within the city of Chicago, Pilsen Little Village, and I was sandwiched between like two gang territories, unbeknownst to me. And there I was, rookie Miss G, smack dab in the middle, and I realized right away that I needed to become more than just a teacher. The school that I started at was a second chance school for students who were either kicked out or dropped out of the Chicago public school system. And well, their last chance was with our charter school network. And so our kids were aging out at 21 years old, coming in with 2 credits, 3 credits, no credits. And you want to talk about seeing real issues up close. I know you heard a little bit of my story during my keynote, but many people think about the school to prison pipeline in theory, but for me, it was very personal. Come and talk to me when you have your kids being yanked out of sixth period English because they were part of a murder investigation the night before. This is a true story. Come and talk to me, man. When you have to do alongside parent teacher conference, parole officer conferences in the same breath. And, it was there where I'm like, man, there is something that I need to do here. And I just felt such a call. But it wasn't until I started losing my students, my first 2, 3 years teaching to gang and to gun violence, that I really had to decide, okay, I really need to really expand my reach and not just, teach to the test and, grade essays, but rather create space for some of our nation's most vulnerable children and amplify their voices so that they can tell their stories. Prior to that, I was in the nonprofit sector. So I was doing a lot of nonprofit work, which made sense, right? Because it's like community based and activism based. And so the classroom was definitely in the stars for me. But now I'm at Morton East High School, which is my home district. So I teach where I live. The students that I serve are mainly first generation from Mexico. And as a proud Latina, a Mexican, and a daughter of immigrants myself, the work just got that much more personal. In 2019, I was really blessed with being awarded Teacher of the Year with the National Society of High School Scholars, and that really paved the way and kind of like opened up like this, you know, national stage for me to tell my story. I mean, talk about the power of storytelling. They thought that they were going to hear a gratitude speech, thank you to my mom and to my friends. And though I did, but that speech, I came through the back door, Phil, and you know I don't play, I don't mince my words. I am out here on the streets and the stage lit up, like the roof blew off. And it wasn't anything that I necessarily said, but it was everything that I really truly wanted to reveal in that moment of proximate front and center, really grappling with these issues and really wanting to make a difference. And then from there, I just started catapulting into different spaces. I'm a bit of a fellowship junkie. I'm a Fulbright scholar, Teachers for Global Classrooms 2023, Team India. I just got back from Argentina this past summer with World Learning in the U.S. Department of State. I'm an alum with Latinos for Education, Storytellers for Change. Now I'm with Advanced Illinois. I'm trying to impact policy and practice. I've come to the realization that, this whole idea of, man, if they don't invite you to the table, just bring a folding chair. I've come to the realization that I am the damn table. And when you come to that realization, right, where there is absolutely nothing that no one and nothing can say that can change your mind, that when you are on a mission, right? When it is like your God-given mission, like I really feel called by the heavens for this to really champion for those who are on the margins and to really close those gaps and to really amplify this idea that your zip code should never determine your destiny, and that all kids deserve a right to a fundamental education as their birthright and not a privilege for the select few. I'm a champion for racial justice. I dismantle linguistic oppression. I disrupt the text. I'm a freedom fighter. I'm an activist. My hair's on fire and I'm just getting started.
Sophia, I love it. Thank you. Everything you do, you're the definition of a giver, and it's so inspiring and impressive. When you talk about some of your personal stories and you talk about the things that can really hold back some groups, it can be really overwhelming as an educator to think like, well, I'm Phil in the chemistry classroom. Like, what what can I do? Where's a starting point that I can do to start helping make the world a better place, advance it, and give all of my students that chance to have a great education, as you said, and not just where you're born, but everyone can get there. So I think sometimes people can say, I don't even know where to begin. So I think that's why I really asked you to come on here because you, of all people, know and see it firsthand how you are personally helping give a voice to so many that are marginalized. Where can we start in the education space or in our communities to allow that? Where I don't even, maybe that's where we start. What is the need? Do we need to give people more of a voice? Do we need to give them more a fair shake and like more of a the opportunities that other people get? And again, I'm coming from a good place, but even the way I say it, I know I probably am not saying it properly because I don't understand the full spectrum. But can we start with that a little bit? Maybe like what's a starting point to get us moving forward?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and this might sound like a paradox, but I feel like I have such an advantage to speak from that place because all that I know is Title One, Title Three, urban, really working with some of our nation's most marginalized student populations. And so, I really had to learn quick and fast how to not only just be an effective educator, but be the kind of teacher that is capable of reaching some of the most resistant children. And so, with that came a lot of intentionality, a lot of strategy, but ultimately, I think for many of us educators and school leaders, we're afraid oftentimes to kind of step out of our original responsibilities. Obviously, teaching and learning, right? I mean, meeting state standards, student outcomes, driving that data. I will be the first one to say that that is critical to our work. But I will also, in the same breath, be the same person to say that all of that should take a back seat in the face of setting a classroom environment, a classroom culture that is so safe, that is so inclusive, that we will not hesitate to stop instruction, hold space, and have community conversations. And I think that takes a lot of bravery, but I think it's in us because most of us, if I'm not mistaken, nearly all of us go into the world of education knowing that we want to make a difference, knowing that we have this element of compassion and public service, right? We're public servants. And so, with that being said, we all have it in us. And it doesn't matter your skin color. It doesn't matter whether you come from a place of privilege or whether you're among some of the same barriers as your students, right? Everyone has the ability to really stop what they're doing and really use their intuition and really be brave enough and bold enough to throw your lesson in the garbage just for the moment or put it on a shelf. Maybe garbage is too, abrupt, right? For some folks, put a pause. This is a tangible example. And as I mentioned, I work with mainly first generation students. We have a very large influx of newcomers, so on and so forth. Cicero is number one in terms of having the most densely populated Latino population in Illinois. So I am sitting right in a community, teaching and living in my district that is really experiencing a lot of psychological harm, really having to navigate this immigration crisis that we're navigating through as a school system. And so, a tangible example of that is we were in the middle of writing our college essays, right? And I was having a conversation with my students in reference to my do now, my bell ringer, right? And I'm very strategic. Again, I'm very mission focused, even in the way that I design my curriculum. It is very well what we would call culturally responsive. It's very I'm gonna meet the moment curriculum, which is another best practice that I'm gonna toss. Um, are we brave enough to pause, adjust, and adapt our curriculum that would meet the moment? I digress. And one of my students was talking about his memoir topic for his college essay. And he was talking about his fear of his father being sent back to his country, about fear of deportation is a real thing for my school and for their families and for our students. And I had to go. I knew that I needed to transition into writing workshop, but I tossed writing workshop right out the window and I gave them an extended day in writing for their final draft. And I'm like, let's pause. First of all, I just want to thank you. I'm going to talk in the first person. First of all, I just want to thank you for being vulnerable. Second of all, I just want you to know that I see you, that I'm with you, and I hold space for you in this moment. And I could cry right now. And I said it there, and I feel like crying right now. Just even making that human connection, even pausing. How are we able to go about business as usual when we have students that show us glimpses of their heart, of what concerns them, of what is burdening them? And to answer your question, Phil, I think it starts there. I think it starts with truly seeing our students in front of us. And are we brave enough to put our agenda aside and see them and humanize and give them voice, right? I tossed it back to them. I'm like, tell me more. And he's like, man, Miss G, I just feel like, I don't know, they're gonna grab him and I'm gonna come home from school and I'm not gonna have a dad. And then I'm gonna have to be the man of the house. And I'm like, all right, well, thank you for your heart. I have resources. So again, right? That's just an example, but I really think it starts with truly centering our students, feeling them, feeling where they're at, sensing where they're at, and being brave enough as the adult in their corner and in the room to put business aside. I even forgot I was teaching. I mean, I did. I forgot because I was like, man, I just want to mother this child right now, right? And so I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah, to be the human, to see them, to bring value, to give them space. Well said. Thank you for that. And I love I think you sharing examples is so valuable because even no matter where we're at or what level, or if we're in this classroom or if this is in a restaurant and we're experiencing something, I think your tangible examples give us a good place to put ourselves in your shoes to live out that moment, to be there for someone if they are struggling or that. What are maybe some of the things that we could easily overlook? For example, I worked in a suburb that was definitely not heavy Latino population. I would say it was probably about 75% just Caucasian, right? So when I had a classroom, I think my classrooms look different than yours for sure. And I would say that maybe about 25% of my class um, could be from groups that people could say are often, marginalized or that the system doesn't exactly support them. Um, for someone like me in that space, is there anything you could give ideas, examples, or that could help support those students, especially when a lot of the people in the classroom don't exactly look like them?
Sure. I mean, I think that being culturally sensitive, responsive, and meeting the moment benefits all kids. I don't care if you're in New Trier. I don't care if you're in Riverside Brookfield. I don't care if you're in Palatine, Schaumburg. And I taught in all those schools as a guest speaker. So I saw, just the pendulum shift between resources and things of that nature and just the student population and what staff tended to focus on in that particular school culture. But what I have come to discover doing my research in terms of like the benefits of diversity, the benefits of being culturally responsive, the benefits of healing and liberation practices in a classroom setting benefits all students because what does it do for those who do live a life of privilege, right? Man, it creates acceptance, it creates tolerance, it creates mutual understanding, it debunks myths and stereotypes, and it creates a better world right then and there, is what I have come to discover. And I think that that's something that we need to continue to prioritize is really creating a classroom environment that benefits all students by amplifying this idea of including voices that have been historically marginalized to debunk a lot of myths, right? That there were many voices in history, in poetry, in whatever subject that you teach, right? Across all content areas that we need to amplify. This is an example. obviously I preach and teach and live and breathe like diverse texts and titles and freedom fighters. And I remember bringing in our freedom fighters like Cesar Chavez, Dolores Huerta, who coined the phrase "Si se puede," who I had the privilege and honor of meeting. And a lot of my Latino students had never really heard of Cesar Chavez and Dolores. And I'm like, man, these are our freedom fighters. And, even to many of them, they're like, whoa, this is powerful, right? That we just don't engage in like labor jobs or cook in the kitchen or cut lawns, but rather we're leading movements. We are making history. We are organizers. We have power. We have agency. And that's something that I think all students can benefit from, and something that we need to prioritize, and not so much just kind of trickle in like as an afterthought. But what would it look like if we can continue to reimagine what it is that we teach and instruct and be more inclusive, and really create an environment of like, whoa, this is not just like I gotta pass Miss G's quiz and write a paper for her, but man, I'm feeling empowered up in here. Like, dang, like I feel like I could go out and do something. And that's the kind of teaching and learning that I think is going to revolutionize our classrooms, and now more than ever, with the Department of Education being gutted, our special education budget being gutted. I mean, come on, man. We are the ones we are waiting for, as the poet June Jordan once penned. We are the ones. But are we willing to step up to that charge? And that is my call to action, actually, tonight.
Mm, thank you. Beautifully said. And I was talking with a friend. I was in Southern Illinois and kind of talking on the drive back home, and we brought up poverty and that there's large populations all over the country that are outside of cities that also are struggling with severe poverty at some points and a lack of educational opportunities just due to the huge shortages of teachers, resources, etc. So I think that when you bring up like giving people a voice, giving them space, giving them, letting them know that they have value and that you can empower them, I think that's a beautiful thing that can transcend all groups that we sometimes feel like are overlooked or marginalized. So I think that was beautifully said. Thank you for that. With your students right now, what are some things you have going on in your classroom that are helping them, empowering them with their voice? I know that not everybody is from the Illinois area that's on this call right now, but obviously a huge thing going on right now is the presence of ICE in the Chicagoland area, and it's not being welcomed by a lot of people, but it's also being welcomed by some. So what is the dynamics right now? And you, in your role, how are you trying to help something that can seems so out of control at the moment, if you don't mind me asking?
No, sure. And, we just had an incident earlier this week, too, with ICE that was around the perimeter of the building, trying to capture a community member. And obviously, once you get close to a school, we go on soft lockdown, or, we're looking at cameras and we're sending emails to alert staff. And it's a ginormous concern for us. And so, what we're doing is we're taking so many layered steps of action. We're creating like resource pages with QR codes and posters, rather, and putting them like all over the school for immediate support from community-based orgs that are supporting our students and families right now, free legal aid, family plans, food, different resources that they could potentially need. Because unfortunately, some of our family members have already been sent back to their countries. And so I have students that have turned into the man of the house. And need to take care of their family while trying to graduate high school. What I'm doing personally is I'm actually fusing the topic of immigration into my curriculum. An example of that is with my juniors. We're in the argument unit and they just got finished writing their argument essays, 5 paragraphs, three sources in the third person, MLA format. Miss G still don't play. Okay. But one of the topics that I allowed them to choose from was immigration reform. And guess what? Over 60% of my high school juniors in my junior English sections have chosen that topic. And I did that very strategically. Why? It gives them another opportunity to express themselves. They're being seen, they're being heard. In my senior college prep, they're writing college essays. I'm creating opportunities for them to write about challenges, significant moments, turning points, and you better believe it. Many of them are talking about the challenges that are going on within the Latino community right now. I just took them on a field trip to the Mexican Fine Arts Museum to amplify and celebrate our cultural identities. I'm constantly having my students unlearn some of the harmful labels. So I'm doing a lot of unlearning and really just acknowledging, right? And obviously, I have an advantage because I am Latina. I live where I teach, so I got mad street cred. Do you know what I'm saying? But I'm speaking in Spanglish, I'm translanguaging, I'm allowing them to respond to me, and I have large ELL sections, but I leverage that. I'm like, vamos a hablar en español, like, let's talk in Spanish, like, and they're just looking at me like, whoa, like, you good with this, Miss G? I'm like, si tú quieres hablar conmigo en español, vamos a hablar en español si quieres. If you want to respond to me in Spanish, respond to me in Spanish. And I always get wide eyes. They're like, wow, this is welcome up in here. Like, um, and then even just asking simple questions like raise your hand, and this is at the beginning of the year. Raise your hand if you can speak Spanish, if you were born, in the home speaking Spanish. And like over 90% of them raised their hand. And I'm like, that's an asset. That is not a deficit. So even just like the unlearning of this dangerous narrative that our student population has heard throughout their entire school trajectory, this phrase, we speak English here, right? And just learning how to navigate through I'm not American enough, I'm not Latino enough, and just holding space and creating assignments around them having opportunities to express that tension and to name it, right? And I'm like, you can be both. You can be both American and proud, but you could be both Latina and extremely connected to your roots. Did you know that you're your ancestors' wildest dreams? Yes, you are. And I say that period in the middle of period two at 9:29 a.m. You got Miss G up in there. You are your ancestors' wildest dreams. And let me tell you something. You can do the impossible. You want to know why? The power is within you. And there is nothing that you cannot. I mean, so I'm in there preaching.
Mm.
I'm in there loving on them. And sometimes I get so carried away. They're just like, and sometimes they end up like applauding. They're like, dang, is this a speech? Is this a keynote? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, y'all. I do speak on the side. So it's like, but at the end of the day, man, it's, when you as the educator in front of them function in your authentic self, I'm functioning in my, wild, off the rafters, passionate, crazy Latina up in the house, being poetic and professional, urban and intelligent. Um, Functioning in the totality of who I am. And guess what that does, Phil? It gives them permission to do the same.
Mm.
So to answer your question, these are some of the things that I'm doing. And I'm just talking about first semester.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to ask me about spring semester because spring semester, I take them to the Capitol and we all engage in advocacy day and we all have protest signs by April, Phil, in front of our state representatives and our elected officials talking about we need more evidence-based funding. We need to diversify the teacher pipeline. We need resources. But that second semester, I don't know if you were just talking about the first.
You were just getting warmed up. I get you. I get you.
I know which semester you're talking about, what quarter, but
I love it. Your passion is infectious. I appreciate it. I taught English language learning class science course for 6 years. And I tell you what, just simply learning about their life and what they love and what they do when they go home and what they eat because my love language is like food and family. And I tell you what, I got to connect and learn so much from my students that were definitely had such different lives than me, but I think we got along well and they worked hard and they enjoyed class because they knew I enjoyed them and that they were valuable and seen. So the things that you said, I didn't even, it was just my natural. I just love learning about people. But your examples you gave, maybe I didn't even realize that they knew they were valued and had a voice in my class. And because of that, I think we really enjoyed our time together and we got to learn. And yes, the curriculum, but I agree. I think it was so much more than that now
Mhm.
reflecting back.
For
It-
sure.
and yeah, really, really grateful to get that. I learned about so much good food and how so many family dynamics are so different, than mine. And it was fascinating, on who are they scared of mom or dad or both or neither, and all these different, and it was individualized, but it was so beautiful. And I agree with you, there is beauty in that diversity and learning from each other and sharing with each other. And I think you're resonating with that and your examples and all you do, so thank you, totally inspiring. um, I know we've got a couple minutes left. I didn't know if anybody had any questions or any comments or anything they wanted to share.
Sophia, what did you say? You said poetic, you're poetic professional, and what were the other? You had two other adjectives, and I didn't get it written down because you were going on to something else, and I didn't want to miss that.
Urban and intelligent. Yes.
Urban and intelligent. Okay.
I like to think of myself as a hybrid. Because
I,
it's
with second language, because I've taught, and I'm the white girl, and I've taught more Latinos probably because a lot of my teaching was in East LA and South County, San Diego, and near the border. And I'm in Oregon, and I'm not teaching there anymore. But I used to teach them about the brain science of, look, two languages. Look at all this great stuff it does for your brain. I mean, do you realize that increases your creativity? It makes you be able to think on a different level, thinking outside the box on a different level than people that only speak one language. So and sometimes I do that with AI in classes because what I do is I work with schools. I do 5 brain-friendly practices in the classroom, and one of those things is giving them a purpose for their learning, and we use AI. So one of the things I use for AI is if they speak different languages, you just put it in there. You go to an AI, what benefits are there for the brain for students who speak more than one language? And it comes up with so many things. So I would challenge you to do that because it's really cool what comes up and they're like, really? This and that wow. I mean, they get to look at it more like a privilege than, oh my gosh, I speak and I would, like how cool is that I get to speak 2 languages?
And I love that you say that. It takes all of us, right? It takes all of us to continue that mindset, that reversed mindset, right? Because many of them have talked about, them just being ashamed of their language. And there's also the no sabo kid label that I've had to debunk too, where there are a lot of Latino students that there was language loss in the home because their parents were told when they came from their countries, which is what happened to me. We speak English here, and so that language we had language loss as a result of erasure. And so then you have the no sabo kid generation that is really struggling and living in tension with their language. But I think it takes, yeah, I think it takes us to continue to lift that message of it being such an asset. So I'm going to do that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm jealous when people are bilingual. I'm like, I barely do English well, let alone another language, I think it's beautiful. So beautiful. Mm. Anyone else wanted to chime in that? I know we're getting close to the end in that and want to honor everyone's time. Miss G, thank you so much. This has been so wonderful.
Of course. Thank you for allowing me to talk about what I love to do most and even just allowing me to name, some of the difficult challenges that we're going through as a school community. So I would appreciate all the love, all the prayers, all the good energy. Tell me it's going to be okay, Miss G, in the chat. Because I have, a lot of babies that I have to return to tomorrow and the day after, and we have to get through this difficult time together. So I appreciate you all holding space for me. Um, and you feel giving me the mic that I can continue to share, which is also healing to me. I feel seen. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Your passion's infectious, and you know you are seen and loved very much by me. I appreciate everything you do. And I'm grateful for everyone that came and for everyone who wasn't able to come but gets to hear the recording. I hope it brings them a lot of ideas, value, and just a shift in perspective if maybe we weren't seeing the world from the perspective that you were. And I think it's so important. We all live in our own specific realities, but when we hear other people's perspectives, it's so beautiful to widen ours to better understand everyone. And if we want to help in this world of education and to bring communities together, I think we need to understand each other better and have more dialogue like this. So thank you for allowing that space. And thank you so much for your time tonight.